The telegram in Rebecca Turner's pocket promised salvation. Or damnation. She wouldn't know which until she met the man who'd written it, Daniel Crawford, a widower so desperate for help he'd offered triple the standard wage. Men didn't pay that kind of money for housekeeping. They paid it for miracles. The November wind sliced through her wool coat as she scanned Silver Creek's empty street. A handful of weathered buildings huddled against the vast Montana landscape. The mountains loomed white-capped in the distance. The end of the earth. Perfect for disappearing. Miss Turner. She turned. The man approaching moved like he was conserving energy in a world that had none to spare. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face weathered beyond its years and eyes the color of storm clouds. Those eyes swept over her, practical, measuring, revealing nothing. Mr. Crawford. She extended her hand. His calloused palm engulfed hers, rough and warm. The contact sent heat up her arm that had nothing to do with the cold. "You're the only one who answered." His voice was gravel and exhaustion. He reached for her bag and his jaw tightened, pain from an old injury. She noticed everything about him, the careful way he moved, the wedding ring still on his left hand, the hollows beneath his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. They rode in silence through increasingly rugged terrain. Rebecca studied the endless brown grass, the pines bent by relentless wind, sky so vast it made her feel insignificant. Beautiful and brutal. My daughter hasn't spoken in 8 months. Rebecca's hands tightened in her lap. Since the wagon accident that killed her mother. Lucy was 10 feet away, watched her mother die. His knuckles went white on the reins. Doctor says there's nothing physically wrong. Says time will heal it. How much time does she need? As much as it takes. Rebecca kept her voice gentle. Grief doesn't follow a schedule. He glanced at her then, really looked at her for the first time. Something flickered in those storm-gray eyes, recognition of a fellow sufferer. You know about loss. Everyone knows about loss. Surviving it is what separates us. The Twin Pines ranch sprawled across a valley cupped between rising hills. The house was solid timber, 2 stories with a wide porch. Prosperous by frontier standards. Yet something felt abandoned, as if the heart had gone out of the place. A pale face appeared in an upstairs window. Lucy. The girl vanished before Rebecca could wave. Inside confirmed her suspicions. Good bones, sturdy furniture, a massive fireplace, but dust filmed every surface. Dishes piled in the sink. The smell of old coffee and older despair. Daniel led her through without comment, shoulders hunched with something like shame. Your room's upstairs, first door. Lucy's across the hall. Mine's at the end. He paused at the stair rail. Lucy takes meals in her room. Doesn't like company. What does she like? The question startled him. She used to love horses. Used to follow me everywhere, chattering constantly. His voice cracked. Now she's a ghost. Rebecca untied her bonnet. Did you hire me to keep house, or to help your daughter? To keep house. The lie was transparent. Then you've been failing. His face darkened, and for a moment she thought he'd throw her out. Then his shoulders sagged. He looked every one of his 34 years and more. Nothing's working. I don't know how to reach her anymore. Let me try. But you'll have to trust me. Daniel studied her for a long moment. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him. Your way. But if she gets upset. Upset is better than numb. Upset means she's still feeling something. That first evening, Rebecca didn't force Lucy downstairs. She cooked beef stew and took a tray to the girls' room. Knocked softly and entered without waiting for permission that wouldn't come. Lucy sat curled in the window seat, thin arms wrapped around her knees. Small for 10, with her father's grey eyes and honey-colored hair. Those eyes tracked Rebecca with animal wariness. I'm Rebecca. Your father hired me. She set down the tray without approaching. I made stew. It's hot. She walked to the window and looked out at the darkening valley. Beautiful view. I bet you can see the whole ranch from here. She paused. I grew up on a ranch in Wyoming. Smaller than this. Lost my whole family to scarlet fever when I was 14. Parents, 2 brothers, Baby sister all gone within a week. Lucy's sharp intake of breath. I didn't talk for a while after that either. Felt like if I opened my mouth, the grief would come pouring out and never stop. Rebecca's voice dropped. But you know what? The grief comes out anyway. It just comes out crooked when you try to hold it in. She turned, meeting Lucy's wide eyes. You don't have to talk to me. But I'm here when you're ready. Over the next week, Rebecca established a routine. Rose before dawn, opened windows despite the cold to let out stale grief. Cooked substantial meals and left trays outside Lucy's door. And every evening at sunset, Rebecca saddled a gentle mare and rode through the valley, always passing beneath Lucy's window. Never looked up, never invited, just rode, hair coming loose, face tilted toward dying light. On the 8th day, Lucy appeared on the porch. Rebecca's heart jumped, but she kept her expression neutral. Good evening. Lucy pointed at the horse, then at herself. You want to ride? The girl nodded, marched to the barn, and emerged leading a spotted mare, perfectly saddled. She'd been practicing in secret, waiting. They rode in silence through the valley as November sun painted the mountains gold and crimson. When they returned, Lucy squeezed Rebecca's hand briefly before running inside. Daniel waited in the kitchen, face a mixture of hope and fear. She rode with you. She's a natural. You've trained her well. Her mother did most of it. Margaret loved horses more than anything. Except Lucy. He turned away, gripping the table edge. I can't give Lucy what she needs. Can't ride with her, can't talk about her mother without breaking. What kind of father? The human kind. Rebecca moved closer, close enough to smell leather and pine and something uniquely him. You're not failing her. You're just stuck in your own grief while trying to manage hers. He turned to face her, and the raw pain in his eyes stole her breath. I'm a rancher. I know cattle and horses and weather. I don't know how to reach a silent child or run a household. Or he stopped, gaze dropping to her mouth and away, color rising in his weathered cheeks. Rebecca's pulse quickened. Or what? Or be around a woman who makes me feel things I thought died with Margaret. He finished roughly. You're an employee. I have no right. Daniel. First time she'd used his given name. It stopped him mid-sentence. I'm not Margaret. I'm not trying to be. But if you're asking whether I feel it too, this thing between us, yes. I do. The air crackled. Daniel stepped closer, hand rising to cup her cheek. His palm was rough and warm, and Rebecca leaned into the touch. This is a mistake, he murmured. Probably. But when he lowered his head, she rose on her toes to meet him. The kiss was tentative, questioning. Then Daniel made a sound low in his throat and pulled her closer, and the kiss deepened into something hungry and desperate. He tasted like coffee and possibility, and when his beard scraped her jaw, she felt it everywhere. A floorboard creaked overhead. They sprang apart. Daniel fled to the barn. The next 2 weeks passed in careful avoidance, though awareness hummed constantly between them. Lucy continued riding with Rebecca and gradually spent more time downstairs, helping with small tasks. One afternoon, Lucy appeared with her mother's sewing basket and began altering one of Margaret's dresses. When Rebecca protested, Lucy's face crumpled and she fled upstairs. Daniel sank into a chair. She's trying to give you her blessing. Trying to say it's okay. He met her eyes. I'm falling in love with you, Rebecca. And it terrifies me. Rebecca's throat tightened. I'm not who you think I am. You're exactly who I think you are. What else could matter? My past. She took a shaky breath. I was engaged once, to a man named William Preston. Charming, successful, respected. She twisted her hands. He hit me. Only when we were alone, only where bruises wouldn't show. Daniel went pale. 3 days before the wedding, he got drunk and tried to force himself on me. I grabbed his rifle and told him if he touched me again, I'd kill him. She laughed bitterly. His father was the territorial judge. William told everyone I was unstable, dangerous. Made sure no one in Wyoming would hire me or help me. Tears streamed down her cheeks. So I ran, changed my name from Rebecca Preston to Rebecca Turner, and ended up here, hiding from everything I used to be. Daniel pulled her into his arms immediately. You survived. You protected yourself. That's not weakness, Rebecca. That's courage. The law doesn't see it that way. I don't give a damn what the law sees. He pulled back to cup her face, thumbs wiping away tears. You're safe here. No one's taking you from this ranch. From Lucy. From me. She kissed him then, pouring all her gratitude and desperate hope into the contact. A small sound made them break apart. Lucy stood at the base of the stairs. But instead of running, she walked slowly toward them, then took one of Rebecca's hands and one of Daniel's, bringing them together. Lucy, Daniel's voice choked. The girl's mouth worked silently. Then, in a voice rusty from disuse, Mama would like her. Daniel pulled Lucy into his arms, and Rebecca joined the embrace. The three of them clung together while Lucy finally cried for the mother she'd lost and the new beginning she was ready to accept. The crisis came 2 weeks later with the first serious snow. Rebecca was in town buying supplies when she saw him. William Preston, stepping out of the telegraph office with his father and 2 hired men. Her vision tunneled. Hands went numb. For a moment, she was back in Wyoming, small and powerless and trapped. Then she thought of Lucy's smile, Daniel's kiss, the life she was building. Something fierce ignited in her chest. William spotted her, his face splitting into a cruel smile. Rebecca. I've been looking for you. My name is Rebecca Turner. You have no business with me. The law says different, sweetheart. Judge Preston stepped forward. You're wanted for assault in Wyoming territory. We've come to bring you back. The street had gone quiet, townspeople stopping to watch. Witnesses. What I did was self-defense, she said loudly, clearly. William attacked me, and I protected myself. That's a damned lie. William snarled, lunging toward her. He grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise, and Rebecca's scream cut through the cold air. Let her go. The voice was cold as mountain ice. Daniel on horseback, rifle leveled directly at William's chest. Now. William released her, hands up, but his smile was vicious. Going to shoot me in front of all these witnesses, cowboy? If I have to. Daniel's eyes never wavered. I know your type. Men who think a woman's an animal to be broken. Touch her again, and I'll make sure you regret it. She's a criminal. She's a woman who defended herself against a coward. Daniel's voice rang across the silent street. A small figure darted past Daniel's horse. Lucy ran straight to Rebecca, wrapping her arms around her waist. Then the girl turned to face William, and her voice still rusty, but growing stronger, cut through the tension. Leave her alone. She's good and you're mean, and I want her to stay. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. She held Lucy tight. Now that's touching, William sneered. But unless you've got papers from a Montana judge, you've got no authority here. Marshal Henderson stepped out of his office. And I've been hearing some interesting things about you, Judge Preston. Seems the territorial governor has questions about some of your rulings. Something about bribes and falsified records. William went pale. I don't know the full truth of what happened in Wyoming, the marshal continued, but I know Miss Turner's been a model citizen here. And I know Daniel Crawford's word is gold. He fixed the Prestons with a hard stare. So unless you've got proper extradition papers, which I'm betting you don't, I suggest you head back to Wyoming. The crowd had moved closer, forming a wall between Rebecca and her accusers. Old Mrs. Coleman from the general store spoke up. We don't take kindly to men who hurt women around here. That girl needs Miss Turner, another voice added. We all seen how she's helped that family. Judge Preston's jaw worked. He recognized a losing position. This isn't over. Yes, Rebecca said quietly, Lucy still pressed against her side, it is. I'm done running from you. I'm done being afraid. You have no power over me anymore. After a tense moment, William spun on his heel and stalked toward the horses. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not standing up to you sooner. As the Prestons rode out of town, Rebecca's legs went weak. Daniel was beside her immediately, one arm around her waist, the other on Lucy's shoulder. The three of them stood together, breathing hard, as snow began to fall. "It's over," Daniel said. "Really over." She looked up at him, at the fierce protectiveness in his eyes, and felt the last chain binding her to her past finally break free. "Yes. It is." That evening, as snow fell soft and thick over the Twin Pines ranch, Rebecca sat at the kitchen table with Daniel and Lucy, helping the girl with arithmetic. Lucy was asking questions about horses and the ranch and whether Rebecca knew how to braid hair the way her mother used to. Daniel reached across the table and took Rebecca's hand, lacing their fingers together. Outside, the Montana winter was fierce and unforgiving. Lucy's laughter rang through the house as she chased the barn cat across the kitchen, and Rebecca realized she couldn't remember the last time these walls had heard a child's joy. Daniel caught her eye across the table, that half smile that still made her breath catch, and she understood, this wasn't the end of the journey. It was permission to finally stop running.